Happy Turkey Day, everybody. What is going on? Welcome back to NFL Turf Talk. Sorry that we're late getting on here. Scotty and I were having some real serious Joel Embiid conversations behind the scenes. But now we got to pick the mood back up because it is Thanksgiving.
Yes,
we are very thankful. And we're going to get into what moments we're thankful for in our lifetime in the National Football League. So we'll have some fun with that later on in the show. We're going to take a peek at this 3-game slate today, get into some of our best bets, and we're going to start the show with our power rankings and kind of translate that into today's slate. I'm one half your host, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Guys, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, follow us on all social media platforms, and then most specifically, make sure to check out the YouTube channel. It's the best and only spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here with us. So like, subscribe, share out the channel, whatever you got to do. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you guys. My man, happy Turkey Day. What's going on?
Yes, sir. Happy Thanksgiving to you, your family, everybody else out there as well. Hope you guys are filling up on food and got some brews lined up for the day like we do. We're already getting started here, man. You got football all day. You can get started early. This is one of the days you're permitted. So I'm taking full advantage here, man. But I'm feeling good, man. The Eagles are in a beautiful spot right now. I'm chilling on Thanksgiving. I don't really have any worries, even though we have like this huge game coming up this Sunday. It's a potential Super Bowl matchup, Super Bowl preview. But I'm just chilling because at the end of the day, the Eagles have set themselves up so nicely, man, that a loss isn't going to be the end of the world now. Not that I'm expecting one, but it's not going to be the end of the world. We've set ourselves up nicely. So sorry to the rest of the NFC's fans out there if you're watching. I know you're probably miserable right now, but the Eagles will hold it down for you nonetheless. But all seriousness, man, happy Thanksgiving. I'm happy to be here, brother.
Yeah, we get to relax today, man. We get to enjoy our holiday. Enjoy is a strong word because these games that we're going to get into today are rough. And then Black Friday football again tomorrow. They started that. Did they start that last year or a few years back?
I remember last year the Dolphins played, and
they haven't put a good game on since they've started this Black Friday tradition. I think it was like the Dolphins with a backup quarterback versus I forget who. Now you have the Chiefs and the Raiders, but the way the Chiefs have been looking and the way the Carolina Panthers played them, maybe we'll get ourselves a better football game tomorrow. But we'll see, man. Let's start with our power rankings though, Scotty, because I think things could get interesting today. You have a lot. We were talking before the show, and maybe I'm just short-sighted and my memory's not serving me correct. At what we're looking at normally at this time of the year, but there are a lot of good football teams. Now, there's only a few Super Bowl contenders for my money, but there's a lot of solid football teams. There's a lot of 8-win, 9-win, 7-win teams. And I'm not sure it's been this clustered and packed at this point of the season in years past. So getting in that 9, 10, and then right on the boundary, 11, 12, just outside the power rankings has been kind of tough, especially because last week, a lot of those teams lost or played poorly and no one really took advantage of it. Right. So I don't know that I even knocked anyone out of my top 10 from last week. I don't believe I did. And it's a shame because like 2 or 3 of the teams lost and looked really poor. So no one could take advantage of it, man. But I'll throw it to you first. I started the power rankings last week. I'll throw it to you if you want to get into yours.
Yeah, man. I completely agree with everything you said there to kind of lead the way for the segment, man. In fact, I actually had a losing team like rise into my rankings somehow. Like it's just that from 9 down, I just think it's very, very jumbled up. I think there's 8 legitimate playoff teams in the NFL, right? There's more than 8. I shouldn't say it like that, right? Like there's more than 8, but there's 8 that I'm confident in right now. So I'll start you off here. I got number 10, man. I got the Houston Texans. Coming in at number 10, they're 7-5 right now. They're coming off just a horrible loss once again. You got Nico Collins back. There should be less excuses at this point, but no, you give up a bunch of points to the Tennessee Titans. You go and you lose that divisional game. So I really, really did want to remove them from my top 10. They were number 9 last week. But the talent's still there, man. CJ Stroud is still there. It's like he's got to turn it on at some point. Is he in a sophomore slump?
When's that conversation going to start?
I know, man. I'm going to give him it's been 2 weeks with Nico back now, right? And you had the Joe Mixon game the week before where he kind of just took over, saved the day. But CJ Stroud is turning the ball over. He has a bunch of interceptions this year. It sounds all negative, right? But I think that's the point. I have to get back to talent because the team that I was ultimately deciding between them with is the Denver Broncos. Maybe the Denver Broncos are the better team right now. It's arguable, honestly. Their defense is for sure good, right? Like, they have a good defense. Bo Nix, he just wins games. Like, he figures it out, like, somehow, bro. So, at the end of the day, it came down to, like, CJ Stroud versus Bo Nix for me, and I went with the Texans there. Number 9. This is the team I was talking about rose into the rankings, even with a loss, and it's the LA Chargers. They lost to the Ravens, but they had a very good to great win against the Bengals the week before. I don't know if that's a good win anymore, though, with how bad the Bengals have been this year. I gave the Chargers a little bit of grace there, though. They've won a bunch of games this year. The defense does look solid. Those receivers, though, there's some question marks there. We got to see what that offense is going to be against better competition. But Justin Herbert, I will say, he looks the most confident in his career. With Harbaugh there, so there's something good.
He's one of the quarterbacks. We know Josh Allen's doing it. He's one of the quarterbacks that's doing more or seems better with less.
With less, yeah. I completely agree there. The rest I'll go through very quickly. I spent a lot of time on 10 and 9, but I think those are the most interesting parts of the rankings. Number 8, I went with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They dropped down a few just because you're in that game with the Browns, bro. And I do get it. That's the Browns type of game. Yeah. But it's also the Steelers type of game as well, and it's a game where mano-a-mano, you need to win that game. I don't care if it's snowing out. I don't care if you have extra conditions that are impacting the game. You should be better than the Cleveland Browns at this point in the season. So I was very disappointed. They dropped from 5 to 8. The Green Bay Packers, I moved up 1 from 8 to 7. They get the W. Why is it slipping my mind? Was it the Bears last week?
No, that was 2 weeks ago.
No, they took care of the San Francisco 49ers. My bad. It was in Green Bay. No Brock Purdy, but they did dominate them, so I did give them a little bit of credit there. So they move up to number 7. Number 6 stayed the same. The Minnesota Vikings. They're the one that squeaked out the W against the Bears. The Bears have just been playing like everyone close as hell, but coming up short. I went with the Vikings here because they just continue to win games, man. Whether it's close, whether their offense is performing at a high level, they're winning games, able to put up 30 in this game. So the offense looked pretty solid. Number 5, I went with the Baltimore Ravens. Come out, get a great W against the LA Chargers on the road as well while the Chargers have been rolling. So I was glad to see the Ravens bounce back there. Obviously going to be a huge test this weekend. Number 4, Kansas City stays in the same spot. They took care of business. Once again, didn't cover the spread. Nothing close to it. It was a tight one. But nonetheless, Mahomes gets it done in the end in closing time, as the Chiefs seem to do often. Buffalo drops to number 3, but it's not their fault, man. Like, it's a little bit of bias, I'm sure. Maybe the Eagles should have just been at number 2 in the first place. I just love the way the Eagles dominated the Rams on the road on national television this past week. Buffalo, maybe a victim of bye week. Maybe that's what happened. And then Detroit, number 1, of course. They're rolling.
All right, man. We have the exact same top 10, different order, obviously, but all the same teams. At number 10, I do have the Chargers, and maybe you are right. Maybe they should be slightly higher, maybe in that 9 spot. Like you said, very impressive win. Well, see, the thing with Cincinnati, the Cincinnati game on Sunday Night Football, I don't know if it's a great win anymore either. Right. And you also blew like a 17-point lead in the second half. And I know it's Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, but at the end of the day, they were able to battle through adversity and get the win there. Herbert does look good. Harbaugh versus Harbaugh the other night, and they were tested, man. I don't think they're the most talented team, like you mentioned. I mean, you have a Justin Herbert playing well with no Keenan Allen anymore, no Mike Williams. They've revamped the offense, not in a good way. They've just stripped it all the way down. Austin Eckler moves on, but they're able to run the ball more consistently with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards this year. So that's something to keep an eye on. Their defense, back and forth. But I have the Chargers at number 10. At number 9, I have the Houston Texans, man. This is a team that I believe they're sitting at 8 wins still, right? I believe they're an 8-4 team.
But 7-5, I think, after this.
Are they 7-5? Yeah, they are. You're right.
7-5.
I believe they started the year 5-1. I could be wrong. 4-1
or 5-1 at least. Yeah.
CJ Stroud, 14 touchdowns to 9 interceptions this year, man. 5 interceptions over his last 3 games. 2 of those resulting in losses, and the only win coming against Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys on primetime. So they just don't look. They're not playing inspiring football, man. I know Stephon Diggs has been shut down for the year. They were missing Nico Collins for a few weeks. Joe Mixon was banged up earlier in the year. But there's just something about that team where I want to believe in the talent. To your point, when you're doing power rankings, it's a balance of how teams are playing, like right now in the moment, versus who you would take in a head-to-head battle any given Sunday. Game, one game, winner moves on. Who would I take? I want to believe in CJ Stroud and the talent.
Yeah.
They're struggling, though, right now, man. So I have them at 9. At number 8, call me a hater, 9-win team. I understand they could be higher. I just still can't buy into the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold. Very confusing. They were one of the last remaining undefeated teams. Then they hit a little bit of a skid. Sam Darnold came back down to earth. But like you said, they're still finding ways to win football games. They are just the team that inside this top 10, man, like, if any other team plays them in my top 10, I would pick the other team over the Minnesota Vikings, most likely.
I do feel you, though.
Maybe I'm just being a hater and I got to start to buy into Sam Darnold a little bit more. But I think he's come back down to earth, man. Daniel Jones just signed with the Minnesota
Interesting
Vikings.
enough, yeah.
In whatever capacity, so.
21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions for Darnold. Because I wanted to just look at him. Once again, I'll be honest with you. I haven't watched a ton of Minnesota games. Like, they're just not a super interesting team to me, but they're a good team. Sam Darnold, what I was going to say is maybe they just don't beat themselves. Maybe that's a good way to put the Vikings. Like, you have to beat them. Their defense is sturdy. Offense doesn't turn the ball over that much. But Sam Darnold, he is playing, man, at a 21-10, 2,700 passing yards, 68% completion percentage.
Yeah,
he's playing good football.
You're talking about a guy that could throw for close to 30 touchdowns this year, man. So
it's crazy. Yeah,
it is something to keep an eye on. I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is big picture playoff time. I'm not selecting the Minnesota Vikings.
I do agree with
any of these teams on this list. Coming in at number 7, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, this is a team that last week you and I were super high on, playing very, very well since Russell Wilson took over, and then they lose a weird game. We knew it though on Thursday. We knew how weird that game was going to be, and I didn't even know it was supposed to snow in Cleveland that night.
Probably not like that. At
not
least
checking the forecast, but then I turned the game on. There's flurries, and then all of a sudden the shovels are getting out, and we can't see the painted lines anymore. And things get fun, and things get cold, and things get electric. But Jameis Winston, man, goes and pulls out a late W against the Steelers. You just can't lose that game. If I'm going to think of you as highly as I do, you're coming off of an ugly win, but a great win against the Baltimore Ravens a few weeks ago. You're leading the AFC North. You cannot lose that game. You can't do it. And then
should mean more.
Dude, as great of a talent as he is the most immature.
Yeah, I agree.
Possibly player in the entire league. Like to lose that game, get in a fight basically as time expires in the back of the end zone by the fans, and then to lose the game, go in the locker room and say that the Cleveland Browns aren't a good football team and you guys beat the conditions. And then, obviously the conditions played a factor, man, but the Browns played in the same conditions.
Right.
So balance it out. You cannot lose that game. Coming in at number 6.
Let me ask you something really quick. The Browns with Jameis Winston, where would they be versus Deshaun Watson?
Played the whole year?
Yeah, it's just something to think about. I don't know for sure, but
how many wins they got right now? They're 3-8.
They've beaten the Ravens and the Steelers?
I think so.
Division rivals, though, so it is. They did play us tough, though. That's the last team, Dylan, that played the Eagles close. Like 20-16, we beat the Browns. So we only put up 20
points.
Here's
the issue, man.
On that Browns
guys like Jameis, for the most part, these journeyman quarterbacks, these career, that got demoted to being backups over the last half decade or so. You get to these guys, and in short moments, in spurts, they can look great. They rejuvenate a team and they pump some energy into an offense. And, they're more explosive than they were with Deshaun Watson. If he had to start, it's like the Nick Foles argument for me on a different level. Like Nick Foles went on that magical carpet ride.
Yeah.
And then he had to start next year because Carson still wasn't ready. And I think we started the year like 2-2 or 1-2 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
People, they would still call for Foles. Oh, he's better. It's not the same as having to start and lead a team each and every week and you be the guy. So maybe they're 4-7, right? I don't think they're a 5-6 team or a 6-5 team with Jameis Winston. Maybe they're a game or two better, but it was a big win for them, man, nonetheless. And he's a crazy guy, man.
He's a crazy dude. He is a crazy ass dude.
At number 6, on the outside of my top 5 looking in, I do have the Green Bay Packers. Again, you're talking about a quarterback in Jordan Love who, excuse me, in a big spot, can I trust you? Can you protect the football? Now, you're coming off of a huge win, a dominant win against San Francisco 49ers. No Brock Purdy. No Nick Bosa. We obviously know they have no Brandon Ayuk. They're beat up all across the board. You were supposed to win that game. You went and won that game. Now you have a big one tonight, man. They're going to be one of the teams we get into in a couple minutes here. Against Tua and the Miami Dolphins. What's that Green Bay defense look like tonight? What does Jordan Love look like tonight?
Yeah.
Can you protect the football? The Packers are a very interesting team just because I want to buy into them, man. You're 8-3. I just, again, outside of my bottom 3 is realistically where I would have the Packers. Like if I had to pick the Packers or the Steelers to go win a game, I would pick the Steelers over the Packers right now, but they are playing very good football. At number 5, man, I had the Kansas City Chiefs. I know that sounds ridiculous. They don't look good.
It's fair.
They don't. I know, like you are right. They just keep finding ways to win, and that's a scary thing considering who plays quarterback, who that head coach is, what their pedigree is, and that is scary. To blow almost a 10-point lead against the Carolina Panthers last weekend.
Yeah.
And then have to have a game-winning drive led by Patrick Mahomes to kick a 50-some-yard field goal to beat Carolina.
Yeah.
Is disgusting. That defense for Kansas City over the last 2 or so weeks has not looked good. Again, you gave up 27 points to Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. The week before that was their first loss where that defense did not look good in Buffalo. The whole team does not look like the former Kansas City Chiefs that we're accustomed to. But again, 10-1. I get it. It's annoying. It's scary. But they just don't look as well as they should, man.
Yeah, and I think on the other side of that argument, man, like there is a world where you could say like the Panthers have been, maybe playing a little bit better football than what the record is, or maybe the defense isn't as bad as what it's looked over the season. Bryce Young has came back into the starting role. He's actually looked like decent, like he's looked like he could play in the NFL potentially. But it's the Kansas City Chiefs. They're coming off a loss, and you don't have any urgency to go out there and take care of that game. And I don't even think that's the case. I think they did have urgency. I just don't think they were good enough to put their foot on the throats of the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Which that speaks for itself at the end of the day, to your point.
If you were playing almost anybody else besides the Carolina Panthers, almost.
You lose that game.
The Giants or Cooper Rush and the Cowboys right now, or those teams. You're playing. If you're playing 24 other teams in the National Football League, you lose that game last Sunday.
They almost lost to Bo Nix, right? And Bo Nix is winning that game. Like the Broncos are winning that game if you play that way against them. So, yeah, to your point, that's not a bad point to put them at 5, man.
It is. It's just hard, man, because I can never bet against Patrick Mahomes. I really can't.
I feel you in a game-to-game basis, but looking at it holistically, these teams are they playing better than
are they playing better football than the 4 teams I have above them right now?
Right.
The answer is no. And it's not just this week. It's not just last week. It's been for a little while now. They finally got their first loss. Look, as crazy as it sounds, 11-0, 10-1 shouldn't make a difference. If they beat the Buffalo Bills, they would still be number 1. They didn't. And then you had a ridiculously ugly win against possibly the worst team in football. So for that reason, you're at number 5. At number 4, the team they did beat by a toenail back in week 1, I do have the Baltimore Ravens. Very nice win for them. They started that game slow against LA on the road the other night. And then Lamar kind of just took over. He hits Bateman to end the half, man. That was a disgusting touchdown given up by the Chargers. But it was, in a way, it was a good loss for the Chargers, but it was also a good win for the Ravens. It kind of balanced itself out. Lamar, Derrick Henry, we get it. That defense has to play better, man. Has to play better if they are going to be taken seriously out in the AFC. But you did hold the Chargers to 23. So
Roquan out in that game as well.
What's up?
Roquan Smith was out in that game as well, man, in the middle of their defense. So he's beat up right now.
He went and took care of business on Monday night. Coming in at number 3, I do have the Buffalo Bills. I believe I had them sitting at number 3 last week.
You did. Yeah.
They're coming off a bye. I haven't moved them, and I do really believe they're a top 3 or 4 team in the National Football League. Coming in at number 2, the Detroit Lions. And coming in at number 1, the best team in the National Football League right now is that team you're wearing on your head, Scotty, representing right now. That is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Fair, man.
9-2. 10-1. What do you want to argue about, right? Like we're not talking about 10-1 versus 8-3. We're not talking about 10-1 versus 7-3, 7-4.
Right.
No, we're talking a 1-game difference, and we're talking. Go ahead.
Oh no, I didn't mean to interrupt. After you're done your point. After you're done your point. My bad, bro.
You're good. We're talking a 1-game difference, and while the Lions have continued to look impressive, we've talked about it heading into last weekend when they're continuing to score 50+, etc. Man, the Eagles they're the most complete team to me right now. It's that simple. It's the level of talent that the Eagles have beaten and played right now. Don't talk down about it now because the Commanders look bad, because heading in that Thursday night matchup, everybody and their mother was taking Jaden Daniels over Jalen Hurts to start their team right now. The Commanders are legit. Yep. No, the Eagles took care of business, especially in the second half on a short week. They follow that up with a humongous victory on Sunday Night Football, probably the most complete game they've played over the stretch, and that's saying something, man. That was a big win to hold Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams to look like that on their home turf. The fans took over the building. They're the most complete team on both sides of the ball right now. I give them the edge on the defensive side. The offense, I get it, right? Like the point total is the point total. The Detroit Lions are legit. Ben Johnson is probably the best play caller in the game. You want to start going down just groups. Jalen Hurts or Jared Goff? Jalen Hurts. Offensive line, push. I mean, I guess they're 2 of the top 2 or 3 offensive lines.
You can give it to the Lions. It's still close. It's by inches. You can give it to the Lions. Sure.
If you want to say rushing attack overall, combining the line and the duo, I get it. Saquon Barkley's the best back in the National Football League.
And Jalen can run the
Brown,
football.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith. Jameson Williams. Devontae Smith. I'll give it to Laporta because he had such a dominant rookie year. He hasn't looked as dominant this year. So I'll give it to Laporta over Goddard. But, I mean, it's position group by position group. The Eagles are more talented. James, appreciate you for tuning in, man. I see the Lions logo. I get it. Back your man. Jared Goff is not Jalen Hurts. He is not better than Jalen Hurts. And that's just nah.
I wanted to ask
your boy today, though, man. 0-3 on Thanksgivings for Jared Goff.
Interesting.
Double-digit point favorites against the division rival today, so we'll see.
It is going to be an interesting game. We'll see if they can cover that spread, right? I did want to absolutely, James. Absolutely, they're the best duo in the NFL. This is what I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you a quarterback, right? A mobile quarterback and a running back like Saquon, Jalen Hurts, and Saquon Barkley
with that line
versus David Montgomery.
And
Jahmyr Gibbs. What is more dynamic? I think there's an argument there. I'm not saying that one or the other is more dynamic. I think there is an argument there, though. And I think when it comes to golf, maybe he's a better thrower than Jalen. Maybe. I'm not personally giving that to golf, but I'm saying maybe from the outside perspective, sure. Non-biasly, you maybe can say that golf is a better thrower than Jalen Hurts. He doesn't have the impact that Jalen does with his legs, and that is significant. Significant. It doesn't matter as much when you have 2 backs like that. I will say that as well.
Correct.
But at the end of the day,
issue when you're arguing these two guys, there's so much talent on both sides of the ball. So if I'm going to sit here and talk about Jared Goff's in the perfect system, it's a little hypocritical because look at all the talent surrounding Jalen Hurts. If you strip that talent down, if you move Jalen Hurts to another team, what does he look like? I don't know. What I do know, though, is because I haven't seen Jalen in other situations, I've seen Jared Goff in other situations. So when I say he's in the perfect system, the perfect fit, it's true because he was traded for the Lions' old quarterback. Matthew Stafford then went to LA and won them a Super Bowl. Jared Goff was not viewed as even a top 14, 15 quarterback in the league at that point. Gets put in this system, and the last 2 years, they have looked dynamic. I'm not arguing that. We'll see. I agree, man. I agree. I think that Ben Johnson and that offense is football right now. Legit. They are playing dominant football.
Like, we're arguing 1 versus 2 right now. You know what I mean? Like, we're getting very, very, into the details at this point, comparing these teams. But that's what you do. I mean, at the end of the day, these teams are very, very close. That's the point. That's why they are 1 and 2, whichever way you have them. Goff is a top 10 quarterback this year, maybe even top 5. When you look at, the way he's playing against other quarterbacks in the NFL, I just think Jalen is also playing at that level. The Eagles are also playing up at that level. And this is what I'm sorry for interrupting you earlier when you were getting into your 2 and 1, because I didn't mean to. I just didn't want to forget the point. But have the Detroit Lions played a game without Amon-Ra St. Brown, for example?
Correct.
Right? If you think that he has the same or similar impact to that of an A.J. Brown, has Jared Goff played without Amon-Ra? That go-to slot guy, catches in the middle, catches outside, big play guy. Without him, what does Jared Goff look like?
Right.
Without Sam Laporta, right? What does it look like? These are just questions. I'm not saying one way or the other. It's just Jalen did play a couple games without A.J. Brown.
Right. The Eagles are sitting here at 9-2, and we hammered them for their slow start and their ugly start to the year to start 2-2. And that's the point. We had to deal with a lot of injuries to start the year. Jordan Mailata missed weeks. Dallas Goedert missed weeks. Lane Johnson missed weeks. Devontae Smith has missed time. A.J. Brown has missed time. So we have seen them with and without different guys in the offense. I give the edge to your safeties. Our corners take it. Our linebackers take it. Pass rush, if Aiden Hutchinson was healthy, it's you guys without a doubt.
Yeah, like landslide.
And the Eagles D-line is playing a lot better right now. It's very tough, man. They are, to me, that's why they're 1-2. They are the 2 best teams in the National Football League right now. They are on a collision course to the NFC Championship. And the winner of that game, if we are lucky enough to meet there, to me, that's going to be the Super Bowl champion. Right now, like, things can change. Injuries do occur. Yeah. We have a couple more weeks to go before we even get into that. It's not even December yet. But they are the 2 best teams in football.
Yeah, exactly.
The Eagles are slightly more complete on both sides of the ball.
These are the 2 most balanced teams in the NFL, which ultimately leads to what you said, the 2 best teams in the NFL. And I think for me, I have the Lions ahead of the Eagles out of respect, right? They just have the longer win streak. They've been doing it longer, I guess, this season, right? But I do think the difference between the 2 that will ultimately come down to is the defense and the identity of the defense, I think, right? Like, the Lions have a good opportunistic defense. I think our defense is more sturdy when it comes to playoff football. That's just my honest view on it. But time will tell, man. Time will certainly tell. Got a big match for them today, right? 10-point favorite going into this one.
I think it's a perfect segue to get into that game to kick off Thanksgiving. The Lions play every year, noon on Thanksgiving Day. It was ugly football for a while. We were accustomed to watching the Lions lose every Thanksgiving. Jared Goff winless on Thanksgiving.
Should be pretty.
Things should change today. However, if we're looking at this from a gambling perspective, man, what are your thoughts? That spread, the way the Bears have played teams tough the last couple weeks, division matchup. The Lions going to cover almost a double-digit point spread?
I actually wanted to go back to their last Thanksgiving. So they lost to the Packers last year, 29.
Yeah, Goff looked disgusting last year.
Jordan Love was a monster. So that's a little bit of a different animal. This one is weird. And the reason that I go back and forth here, man. I go back and forth here because I woke up this morning and I thought Bears plus 10 sounds like really good. Then I saw it was in Detroit, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, in Detroit, they could explode. So I'm ultimately staying away from the spread because it could go both ways for me.
What about the over?
The over I do like because I think ultimately the Lions will score points.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world the Lions score 40-plus points today.
Right, they could get 3/4 or 4/5 of the over themselves, but I also think the Bears will be able to score some points today. I think they will get it in the end zone today.
Caleb has looked better the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and they've played teams close, so that is what makes me stay away from the Lions spread. But the total, is it still at 48.5?
47.5, I'm showing.
Oh, it went down. So yeah, I think I would rock with that today. Touchdown scores. I think looking at a couple different options there. The two that come to my mind immediately: David Montgomery going against his old team, and DeAndre Swift going against his old team. If they get an opportunity to get those guys in the end zone, they're gonna do it. Yeah. The other one that I really, really like is Amon-Ra. He's just been on a hot streak.
I was going to say, I think I'm envisioning a big one to Jameson Williams today for some reason. An explosive play downfield.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It is Thanksgiving. I saw on covers.com they did take the over on his receiving yards, which he could get it in one play.
Interesting. So I do like that. I do agree, man. Look, in theory, a 10-point spread in a division matchup, the way the Bears have been playing, sounds great. Until the Lions march down the field and score on the first possession, and you're staring down the barrel of a 7-0 game, and you're going, "Ooh,
yeah."
So it is a little scary when you take the blank canvas and you're looking at 0-0 plus 10 sounds phenomenal. That 10 can disappear pretty quickly, especially against a team like the Lions, who we've seen and we've talked about over the last couple of weeks. Don't really pull their starters. They will run the score up on you. They are not conservative late in games. They'll continue to push the ball, even if they're up by 30-plus points. So They're looking to continue to make a statement. National television, holiday. It is a little scary to take them plus the 10. The over does sound nice, and having some fun with this game sounds nice as well, man.
Yeah.
But big win for the Lions because of the conversation we just had, right? The Eagles with a humongous test. And I know, both teams are not focused on each other. I'm just talking about from our dialogue. Right. The Eagles have a huge test in Baltimore on Sunday. The Lions have a home game against a team that they're double-digit favorites on. The Lions need to show up and win this game, and then we'll see what happens with the Eagles. If the Eagles lose, well, then my power rankings will switch by a spot come next week. But the Lions have to take care of business first.
If the Lions, I don't want to say lose the game because it's a 10-point spread, but obviously, if they lose the game, but even if it's close, if the Bears take them to the wire, do you start feeling like this is the same old, not the same old Lions, but they should have some extra motivation to come out here and perform well on Thanksgiving. If we know Jared Goff's record, if we know that the Lions have lost their last 7 on Thanksgiving or whatever it is, right? They should know that as well. Like you said, they should be motivated to come out and put on a good performance. If they lose to the Bears, man, at home on Thanksgiving, we're gonna have some question marks around this team, especially if they're giving up a ton of points to this Bears offense, which Caleb's playing better, but they're not lights out, right? They have talent, but we've seen what they look like this entire season. So I don't know. It's you want to give them a little bit of grace because you can almost see a close game coming. But at the same time, if you are the team that we think you are, if you are this 10-1, future 11-1 team, go out here and you take care of business against a weaker division opponent. It's as simple as that.
Next game, man. Yeah. I got to have a discussion with the schedule makers. And I know no one could have foreseen the Cowboys being as bad as they are and injured as they are and having Cooper Rush starting today. So from that perspective, I get it. But who in the blue hell continues to put the New York Giants on holidays? We had to play them on Christmas last year. And now they get a Thanksgiving Day game this year. What are we doing? Get this team off of my television.
Yeah, seriously.
On a holiday. And now we have Cooper Rush going one-on-one against, I don't even know if it's Tommy DeVito. I
don't think DeVito's starting, man.
Slightly intoxicated. I don't remember exactly what it said, but I saw Drew Lock's about to save the day because I think DeVito traveled, but he didn't participate in. So I don't know. So
does Drew Lock change your perspective on the game? I do think he's better than Tommy DeVito.
No, he does not. Now, he's better than Tommy DeVito, and let's have a very simple conversation. The New York Giants are quite arguably the most poorly run franchise in the National Football League, and that is saying something considering I'm watching the Carolina Panthers trade away their future to go get Bryce Young last year and then bench him this year. I'm watching them give running backs 3-4 year deals. Miles Sanders last year signed a 3 or 4 year deal with them. Can't even see the field anymore, man. Didn't even see the field a lot last year. They're poorly ran. The
drafted a running back
plays in East Rutherford in New York is ridiculously and crazily ran. But the New York Giants might be the worst run organization in the National Football League. The team they're playing today, with their 97-year-old owner and GM who can never get the fuck out of his own way. There's a lot of poorly ran teams. The New York Giants, man, Saquon Barkley stuff aside, Hard Knock stuff aside, you brought in Drew Lock after paying Daniel Jones $160 million at the beginning of last year. You brought in Drew Lock this year. You are 2-9. You bench Daniel Jones. Now, this is before Daniel Jones gets released. A year later, they released their $160 million quarterback. They didn't trade him. They released him in the middle of the goddamn season. Not only is that crazy, before they did that, you surpassed your number 2 on the depth chart and said you were going to start Tommy DeVito. Why? Because it's a gimmick. And it'll sell a little bit more tickets. The fact that Tommy DeVito started a game in the National Football League last week over who was set to be your number 2 on the depth chart tells me all I need to know. They thought, what can we do to sell some tickets? Let's get Tommy fucking Cutlets back in the arena. No, it's a clown show, and this game today absolutely sucks. I will say, man, one of the better Thanksgivings to spend more time with your family because the football to start today is not going to be enjoyable.
No, I do feel you. But I do think ultimately, I feel like the Cowboys are going to take care of business here. I feel like they're going to cover the spread, the 3.5.
0-5 at home, dude. 0-5 at home.
I trust Cooper Rush in that Cowboys offense more than what the Giants have going on. I do feel you, though. I think the Giants have failed on so many levels between the Saquon departure, not only the way it took place, but the feeling that he felt comfortable going to a division rival. If you had built anything with that team, with that organization, you would have never joined the Philadelphia Eagles, just out of respect, man. Like, regardless of money getting thrown around, if he got treated with the proper value with the Giants, he would have not joined an arch nemesis. I don't care where he's from. So yeah, the Giants got a lot of bad going on, man, and I don't know where they go next, man. I guess they think they get a new quarterback in there and figure it out from there, but you tried that with Daniel Jones. You gave him a ton of money. You've locked up finances within your organization by doing so, and you look down and it's like, okay, we got Malik Neighbors, we got is it Tyrone Tracy? I might be getting his name confused here. They're great players, but you start to look around and it's like, is this the same thing as like Saquon and whatever receivers they had at the time? You know what I mean? They're just going in circles there. So they need to get a change in coaching, a change in management, all of the above before there's going to be a fix there. It's not to say the Cowboys are doing much better. They just have a little bit more talent defensively than I trust.
And I'm also going to lay this out there to you right now. There will not be a single dollar or cent placed on this game for me today. I can't. I refuse. I'm not picking a touchdown score. I don't trust either quarterback or either team to move the football.
Fair enough.
I'm not doing. It's a low total. I don't give 2 fucks. This game could be 9-6. I ain't picking a winner. Not happening today.
I was honestly thinking about taking Dallas minus 3.5, but as soon as I do that, they're gonna screw me over. So I do feel you, man. I do feel you.
You're a bold fucking man. Let me tell you. I get it. At home.
I thought about it.
Drew Lock. I mean,
it's Drew. I'll say this. That was the mindset with Tommy DeVito coming in.
Yeah,
with Drew Lock, it is a little bit more suspect.
Some young Jeezy before the game and see if things don't change out on that football field. But I will not be touching this game. In middle afternoon might be a college basketball look for your boy over here.
Fair enough.
So all right. Last game of the day, ending in Lambeau. Dolphins, Packers. Man, Dolphins, a team that's not quite going away yet. 5-6. You go on the road and somehow get a win tonight. You're a 500 team with a few weeks left to play in a crowded AFC wild card. There's wiggle room for the Miami Dolphins to still find a way to get into the postseason. Reversely, it's a big game for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers to take care of business and show me that you are a top 5 or 6 team and you deserve to be in those power rankings. But the story of the game is going to be Miami versus the cold. Tua in the cold. Was asked about it earlier in the week, said he's excited to put those those questions and those comments to bed. Hasn't been able to do it in his career, man. Lambeau Field, I have not looked at the temperature. It's looking like 26 degrees. And snow I saw. So could be fun. Won't be too fun for Tua. I do like the Packers in this game, man. I will say I probably like the over a little bit more, maybe all it down to like 46 or so. It's sitting at 47.5 currently. Both offenses can put it on you as long as both teams can protect the ball and, and sustain drives. Then I think that total will hit the over, but you never know in primetime, man. Sometimes games get a little funky.
No doubt. Just pulling this comment up because I saw it earlier in the show. Darius is he's thinking the Dolphins cover that 3.5, man. I can't trust Tua. I can't trust it. I can't trust it in the cold. I don't trust the Dolphins in general, quite honestly. And I do think the Packers are just better built for the cold, better built to play in this time of season than the Miami Dolphins are. This is a huge prove-it game both ways. The Dolphins, like Darius said, they've been playing some good football since Tua came back. They've been able to play competent football, right, and take teams to the wire. You look at the Packers, they've played some good football. They obviously have 8 wins this season, but there's been some very, very questionable moments throughout the years, some losses that they have dropped, some performances that they've dropped. Jordan Love turning the ball over, those type of things that you got to keep an eye out for today. But I like this spot for Green Bay in a prove-it game at home with honestly a modest spread, in my opinion. I get it that these are two teams that are playing decently well right now, but I look at the Packers in kind of a different way than I look at the Dolphins currently. You got Tyreek Hill, who's beat up coming into this game. He's been beat up all season. He just hasn't even looked like himself, so we'll see what he looks like today. But in the cold, man, I do like the Packers spread. I like the minus 3.5. So sorry, Darius, I'm sorry we don't agree there.
I wish we did, man.
He said if they pressure Love and shut down Jacobs, they can win. Those are big asks, though.
Yeah.
To shut down Jacobs, who has been balling this year in the cold, which is as much as the Dolphins want to come up and like act like they're this cold weather physical team. You play in Miami, dog. Like it's not. And at the end of the day, if it's snowing out today, I'm gonna give the nod to the Green Bay Packers. Not Jordan Love, but their run game. And I think that's what's going to control this game and ultimately win it today for them. The total is interesting. I had it at 46.5. It's at 47.5 now. So
on
that was from yesterday.
On the ESPN bet on the website, it's at 47.5.
Darius says the dogs are covering today, man. Interesting. It's not out of the realms of possibilities. It's not. I just think for me, out of all of the spreads today, this is the one that I'm most confident in. The Packers 3.5. So we'll see. I definitely wouldn't call it my best bet, but I do think they cover today. I do think the Packers cover.
Yeah, I would say of all combining the spreads and team I trust the most, it is the Packers today. Like I trust the Lions the most out of all 6 teams. To cover a double-digit spread today when you've lost 7 straight on this day and Jared Goff's winless on this day.
A lot.
I don't want to do that. And then getting into the last 2 matchups we talked about, obviously the Packers are to me the best of those remaining 4. So a lot of NFC action today, obviously, man. The only AFC team is the Miami Dolphins. And like we said, you're in a crowded wild card race. So it's a humongous game for them. I just don't trust
it. Here we go.
He was so close.
Close
to co-hosting one of the days, man. But with that said, man, I know let's wrap up the show with something fun, Scotty. I know you got a few moments. So basically we're thinking Thanksgiving. What are we thankful for? We're thankful for football. Well, what in football in our lifetimes are we thankful to have been a part of, witnessed, just fun overall moments, man? So first and foremost, I believe it was February 4th, 2018. Philadelphia Eagles winning their first ever Super Bowl starts the list. What other ones do you have on your mind, Scotty, that you are grateful to have witnessed, thankful to have witnessed?
So I will be completely honest with you. The first one that comes to my mind, even after, and I think it's because I was at the game physically, like I was in the Lincoln Financial Field that day. But it is on our Super Bowl run. It was against the Atlanta Falcons. It was the knee off of who was it?
Torrey Smith.
Torrey Smith, and it like bounces into.
Well, he caught it. Yeah. I think it was.
He caught it off of
Keanu Neal, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. It is Keanu Neal. It was the Atlanta Falcons safety, and it bounces into Torrey Smith's hands, and we get a field goal out of it at halftime or something like that. But I remember that game like it was yesterday, being in the stadium, and then that ultimately leading to the Super Bowl win is why I remember it so much. Why it sticks with me ultimately. But yeah, that was definitely one of the bigger ones. I'm trying to think of the next one that like comes to mind for me.
It's tough because there's different moments, there's different plays.
Reasoning.
Because it's hard as an Eagles fan. You focus on, well, what have I watched the Eagles doing? What am I thankful for the Eagles of doing? But historically in my lifetime, what have I watched? I mean, watching Tom Brady come back from 28-3 against the Falcons in the Super Bowl is one of the coolest moments I've ever witnessed and been a part of. And it's funny, man, because when I was younger, you're naive when you're younger. You like who you like. And I used to have arguments and debates with my uncle over who the greatest quarterback was, because I grew up a Peyton Manning fan. Still love the Sheriff. My argument was always talent. Like who's just the better quarterback. And
you can still argue that. You can still argue it.
You can, but it's undeniable.
Track record matters.
And I still, at that point, I was a freshman in college, and I still tried to argue it. And then he had that comeback, and I just got a text from my uncle in my dorm room, and it said, "Still think you're right?" with a question mark. And I was like, don't think so. So that comeback was unbelievable, man. The biggest comeback in Super Bowl history, sports history, on that stage in that moment, man. That was crazy to win it.
Man, the next one that comes to mind, man, and I can't tell you why. I can actually, because I remember it hurt me so bad as a child, bro. But it was the year Jeff Garcia came in as the backup quarterback for the Eagles, man, and he got it. Did he get us a playoff win or did he not?
I think he did.
We ended up losing against the New Orleans Saints, and I remember going to the top of my stairs at my mom's house and crying, because I was just so blown that the journey with Jeff Garcia was over, because it was just so fucking awesome that season, how he came in. And not only did he take over the team, but they were lights the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I believe they even beat the Cowboys that year with Jeff Garcia, man. It was a very memorable season, but I do remember that playoff loss to the Saints, dude.
Speaking of backup quarterbacks coming in and playing well, this is going to sound bad, but I am thankful wearing the old Kelly Greens against the Green Bay Packers for Kevin Cobb's injury, because that unleashed the Michael Vick era in Philadelphia. He came in, and that offense, Jeremy Maclin, Shady, Deshaun Jackson, Selleck, those moments were incredible. The Miracle at the Meadowlands part.
Miracle at the Meadowlands.
I'll never forget watching that with my grandpa.
And that Monday Night Massacre against the Commanders, Redskins, whatever you want to call them.
First play to DJX. I don't remember if it was that game or if it was another Sunday or Monday night matchup against Washington with Vic and Jackson. But I had Deshaun Jackson in my fantasy league as a kid. And I'm in a distance scoring league. So the further the touchdowns, the more points. And I'll never forget, I think Deshaun Jackson had like 3 50, 60 plus yard touchdowns, man. And I had like the greatest comeback in my fantasy history. It was he literally scored. He had to have scored like 50, 60 points. And I won. So there are moments. I'm trying to think what else, man, that we have witnessed. I mean, the Snow Bowl, right, with Shady against the Lions.
That was a fun one. Yeah, that was a fun one. I'm trying to think of like general.
I know. Notice how we just went straight back to the Eagles.
Oh, Eagles. You know what I mean? That's all that floods my mind. Let me give you the top 10 that is on what website is this? These are the top 10 moments, most iconic moments in NFL history. This was posted on August 26th on what private internet acts? I don't know what the hell it was. But this is what they list out. The Immaculate Reception in 1972. We all know that one, even though I wasn't alive for it.
Yeah.
The Catch in 1982. So I'll skip through these. These are before our time. The Helmet Catch in 2008. The New York Giants versus the New England Patriots.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Go off of that moment, because these are 2 different Super Bowls.
Yeah.
David Tyree helmet catch or the Mario Manningham throw down the sideline from Eli in the second New England Giants Super Bowl. The helmet catch is crazier, but that throw, I'm not joking when I say it might be the greatest throw I've ever watched. The over-the-shoulder on the boundary throw.
Talent-wise, yeah.
Game-winning drive.
Yeah. Talent-wise, yeah. I have to agree. The one to Mario Manningham was much.
There's also in that 28-3 comeback,
much more dynamic.
There's that one Julian Edelman catch when he's like triple teamed and like the ball gets deflected and he like catches it with like this much room between the ground. There's one of those.
Bro, the Philly special.
It's a great point. What are we doing?
Is it just slipping our mind just because of how popular it really is in this day and age, I guess?
Probably. Like, let me ask you a question. Is that the greatest play ever? Like, take the moment involved that led to a win against the dynasty. That play, the balls to call, like that play. It's not the greatest
the balls to call it
ever.
Yeah.
Super Bowl right before halftime. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. The balls to call that play and how it worked out so perfectly and what a moment it became in that game. Is it the greatest play ever?
Bias, obviously. Like, do you mean for the Eagles or NFL? Because I think there's an argument for both.
In the NFL, the Eagles
easily, yeah. Easily the greatest trick play. It's got to be, right. Like, if it's the greatest trick play, then it's just the greatest play. Like, it's just the fact that it worked, man. We got a statue outside of our stadium for it. It was on the biggest stage as well, man. I think you almost have to give it to that. The Minneapolis Miracle.
That's the same. That leads to our NFC Championship matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember that Patrick Robinson pick 6 in the NFC Championship game.
You got the flea flicker in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, man. So many moments.
Let me give you these numbers before we get to Will's comment to wrap up the show, because Scotty and I were having a funny conversation before we started. But this is from John Ewing. If you don't follow him, you should, to get your betting, to get your numbers. But he said, fade the public on Thanksgiving as a question. Bad idea. Since 2005, NFL teams getting 50+% of bets are 34-19 against the spread. It's hitting at a 64% clip. 83% of the bets are on the Cowboys minus 3.5. 76% of bets are on the Lions to cover, and 74% of bets are on the Packers to cover their 3.5. So
interesting.
Darius has the dogs barking. The public has the favorites covering. On Thanksgiving, since 2005, the favorites have covered at almost a 65% clip.
That is
going to be an interesting day, man. Trends will either continue or a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money, and the books are going to have a very nice holiday. So
it is interesting.
It's
tough. Would you say that the Dolphins are the toughest opponent that is an underdog today? Would you say over the Bears, I guess?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're the most talented. They're the most dangerous.
But it's weird. I'm more confident in the Packers covering that spread though. I guess it's because it is 3.5 compared to 10.
Yeah, it's such a lower spread.
Even compared to the Cowboys over the Giants, I feel more comfortable with the Packers over the Dolphins, man. But we'll see. Maybe the Dolphins, Darius said earlier, man. Maybe they do cover and kind of wreck my Thanksgiving.
Outright.
Interesting.
Really today. Dishes, man. What do you cook up over there? First, how are we feeling in the chat, Scotty? How are we feeling about Thanksgiving food in general? Because on the day, tradition-wise, I get it. I do like a majority of it. It's fine.
Yeah.
I just want to know why we still eat like we're the Pilgrims. Why am I eating turkey, man? And here's the thing about turkey: when you pull it out of the oven, you pull it out, the turkey itself before carved looks tasty.
Great.
I mean, I'm sure there's different things people do to turkeys, and some turkeys probably taste better than others. And
I'll be honest with you, Dylan. We don't even make a turkey; we make a ham.
See, and I'm not a ham guy, but I'd rather have ham than turkey.
Yeah. Ham's usually a Christmas thing, I feel like.
Well, but see, here's the thing for me: Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
Because Christmas dinner, we do Italian. So
fair.
Yeah. So we've had Christmas dinners of chicken parm, of spaghetti, meatball, sausage. We've had lasagna. So it's a Christmas dinner outranks. And that's my point. I just I like it on the day, the tradition, you got all this food.
Yeah.
But if we're being honest, we don't have the most tasteful bird. We got a lot of vegetables. I love mashed potatoes, but I have mashed potatoes all the time.
It's fair.
You know what I mean? Stuffing.
Yeah,
stuffing. I do love stuffing. So
I was gonna say stuffing, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese are my favorite dishes. I guess that go with the dinner. I don't mind.
Not everyone has a mac and cheese though.
I know it's not. I've found that out over the years that is not locked in, but that is probably my favorite or top 3 at least.
We make my grandma used to make them. My mom is making them today. She made
baked mac and cheese.
Yeah. She made these. They make these carrots, but they're not. They're almost caramelized. I
know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Just your basic cat. So it's those I like. But that's it's just.
But it's you could have something better. It gets made out that it's this fantastic food. You know what I mean? That these dishes, but these are the basics at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Why aren't we having a good steak today, Scotty?
A good steak, man. That's such a great idea. I was thinking a chicken, but no, you're right, man. A fat, juicy piece of steak, man.
What are we doing? But
the stuffing hits, mashed potatoes, gravy.
You have the tradition. The food on today is fine.
Yeah.
You have Thanksgiving, you have family, you have drink. It's great. But today, we got shitty football.
Yeah.
Rain.
Yeah.
And turkey.
Yeah. Got beer, though.
We do.
We got beer, and that makes it all right. We can put a few wagers on the games and make them more interesting a little bit. So we can work with it.
Both the turkey and the ham. I know a couple people.
It's a lot of work. A lot of work.
There's a lot of work. I'm only, when your boy starts a family and gets his own place, hopefully in the near future, traditions might change a little bit.
Fair enough.
Change a little bit, but
I like the steak idea, man. I do. I really do.
It's just that the issue. I mean, and it depends, right? If you're having a low key thing, got it. If you're having 15, 20 people at your house, what do we do? You can't. I mean,
you got to have a bird.
It's going to be BYOS. You're going to bring your own steak at that point.
Bring your own meat.
Time out, though. I know, Diddy. I get the joke. However, that is it. What if that was the idea?
That's not a bad idea.
The different families bring their own meat that no.
You want a lamb chop? Bring a lamb chop.
Yeah.
You want a pair of ribs? Bring some ribs, man. Some spare ribs, whatever.
Ribs, dude, we're doing barbecue today.
Yeah, like whatever, man. We get all the cooking utensils out. I like that idea, man.
Enough meat.
BYOM. It's enough meat to go around. Woo! Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I forgot. And then not only do we get to follow up this horrible day of football, most likely, with more horrible football on Black Friday, because someone thought, hey, here's a good idea. Let's put the Kansas City Chiefs, fine idea, against the Las Vegas Raiders on Black Friday in the middle of the afternoon.
Are the Raiders the Black Friday team? Is that what it is? Because I swear they played the Dolphins last year on Black Friday.
They might have. And the Dolphins had like a backup quarterback.
So maybe Vegas is like the Black Friday arena or whatever. I don't know if this game is. No, it's in Kansas City, so I'm wrong. So never mind.
He said, nah, man, these games are going to be good. All right. With that said, let's get the fuck out of here and go enjoy our Thanksgiving. But
more brew, more food.
Every one of you guys enjoy the show. Have a very happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the food, I hope. And let's go hope to enjoy some football.
Yes, sir.
For myself, for Scotty, for DSM, for Turf Talk, make sure to subscribe, to follow. Peace out, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.